Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Pacific Tourism Organization and Travel Foundation Partnership launch. My name is Ahmed Ali, and I am part of the SPTO Sustainable Tourism Development Division. And I will be a webinar for this. I will be a MC, sorry, for this webinar. Good morning and welcome from wherever you're joining us. Good evening, good afternoon to our colleagues in the US and the UK. Before we begin, a quick housekeeping matters, a few quick housekeeping matters. Please ensure that your microphones are on mute. If you do need to ask any questions, please do type this into the Zoom chat box that we have on the side. We will endeavor to answer as many questions as we can during the seminar. If we are unable to do so, we will respond to your questions on email. So please feel free to send in your questions because we would like this session to be an interactive discussion with our partners. For those who have just joined, we're also asking if you could log into Slido. The link for this is provided on the chat as well. And once we do the poll questions, I will keep on refreshing the chat box so that you're able to actually connect wherever you're from. We'll begin proper now. And if I could please introduce the CEO for Pacific Tourism Organization, Mr. Christopher Cocker, to welcome us proper. Thank you, Chris.
Warm Pacific greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and from the Pacific Islands, the best part of the world and where most of our islands are COVID-19 free. May I give this opportunity to promote ourselves in this case. But thank you for joining us and welcome participants to the SPTO's webinar series. This is our fourth webinar as part of SPTO's support to assist recovery efforts for our countries and also all that are involved with tourism in the Pacific. Before I continue, I'd like to thank Tina and her team for organizing this webinar. They've done a great job. And for those who are unaware, SPTO is made up of a membership of 20 Pacific Island countries, as well as private sector members. Our annual visitors report reported 3 million visitors last year, 2019, into the Pacific. And this lends an impetus to our role of developing tourism sustainably in the Pacific. In addition, of course, COVID-19 has intensified our need to respond responsibly to tourism development in the region. To highlight SPTO's current activities in response to COVID-19 and building back better, SPTO has launched its recovery strategy in April. We've also worked with New Zealand AMFET to produce 2 reports, one which was the COVID-19 Tourism Impact Status Report early May, and our Scenario Development and Recovery Pathways Report, which was produced at the end of May. And this, which has provided us with insight into our way forward. SPTO's focus post-COVID-19 is to ensure that we rebuild better, and the programs that we put in place for Pacific tourism takes a holistic approach that is based on sustainable tourism development principles, which put social, cultural, environmental, and also economic benefits to communities at the forefront, and ensures that we provide solutions that are not only fit for the Pacific, the new global traveler, but also based on smart recovery options. This partnership with Travel Foundation will allow us to look at innovative solutions that we can provide immediately for capacity development online, as well as looking at mid to long-term options, which will be discussed by the team shortly. These also hand in hand with in our strategic plan, also our vision, and one that we are looking to emphasize and integrate into all of our programs moving forward as we look to become a leader in sustainable tourism. We welcome the experience and expertise of the Travel Foundation, which brings to our team, and we look forward to working close collaboration to support our members with the tools, the resources and programs that will support smart and swift recovery and ensure the region's tourism offer is future fit. We know we have a huge task ahead as we begin the recovery process, and it's important that we do things that are right now just for now, but for the long term. And finally, sustainable tourism will not be an easy journey, and we must work together to achieve the future we want for our Blue Pacific. Enjoy the webinar and best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris, for those words. Before I introduce the moderator, I'd like to invite everybody to just take a minute. We'll switch over to Slido for a minute, and I'd like to put up the first question, which is, what is your main concern for Pacific tourism at the moment? The link for Slido is in your chat. Please log on to that, and you should be able to see answers as they come in. Please post as many answers as you would like. There's no right or wrong answer. This is a learning experience for us as well. So we'd also like to be able to learn from our partners who are engaged throughout this forum as well. So if you look at the first question, it should come up on your Slido screen now. So the question is, what is your main concern for Pacific tourism at the moment? We'll just take a minute or two to answer this question before we hand over to our moderator. We've got some responses coming through, and hopefully you can see this on your screen as well, in terms of sustainable employment, resilience, the lack of big picture thinking. Recovery is going to be a long process, and people will be going traveling, and we will look to see how we can mitigate that moving forward. We'll just give you 30 more seconds to provide your answers. I'll leave this poll open so you can share your answers on that, and you'll be able to see it while the moderators and the panelists are speaking. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for your responses. Please keep posting it onto Slido. We'll close that session further down the line. I'd like to just now introduce our moderator for the panel discussion. He's Graham Jackson, the head of partnerships from the Travel Foundation, who is partnering with SPTO in this webinar. Thank you, Graham.
Thanks, Ahmed. Can you hear me okay now? Yeah, thanks, Ahmed. Yeah, great pleasure to be here today. Thanks to all of you for taking time out of your busy days to join us. We're really excited about this this partnership with SPTO. We already, it's fair to say, feel very much part of the team, and we look forward to sharing more about our joint activities and our ambitions with you today. I'm just going to start off and just introduce very quickly the Travel Foundation. I've just got a few slides, and then I'll hand over to Jeremy and Tina to tell you more about specifically what we're hoping to do in the Pacific. So you can just bear with me if the technology will allow. I hope you can all see my presentation clearly. Okay, great. So the Travel Foundation is an NGO. We're based in the UK. We've been around since 2003, and our vision since the beginning has been around ensuring tourism provides the greatest benefits for destinations. So really trying to do tourism in a way that creates opportunity, but also protects the assets that make places worth visiting. Our work has always very much been around bridging the gap between the different actors in tourism, so the companies involved in it, the public sector, the governments, agencies, civil society and communities, helping to create a bit of a shared vision around tourism, and ultimately move towards a scenario where tourism is better managed and balanced towards destination aspirations and needs. As I said, we're based here in the UK, our head office, but we work globally. We've so far delivered sustainable tourism initiatives in around 30 countries around the world, and I guess we can probably add this to our map now, the Pacific region. What we're really hoping to do through our work is address root causes, things that cause tourism vulnerability to tourism sector, and helping to build resilience. So, you know, some of the things that we've seen certainly over the years, some of the problems in certain places with overcrowding, destination degradation, exclusion, seasonality, economic leakage. These are some of the work, some of the things that we're trying to address through our work, and these are some of the causes of some of those symptoms. We produced a report last year, The Invisible Burden of Tourism, with Cornell and Epplewood International. I would encourage you to read this if you haven't already. That really sort of sums up some of the foundational challenges to tourism that our work seeks to address. What we're hoping to do, and what we're certainly intending to do with our work with SPTO, is to try and deliver some of these things, ultimately towards creating better, stronger tourism economies with opportunities for livelihoods for destination communities, very much putting communities at the front and centre of recovery. Practically, how we do this, we have a range of tools and methodologies and trainings and approaches to supporting better planning, development and governance of tourism, and very much with a market focus. So bringing very innovative approaches, bringing the industry and connecting it in with products that support local livelihoods. And I'm sure Tina and Jeremy will illuminate to you as to what that might look like for the Pacific region in the coming slides. So thanks again for having us here today. I'll be dipping in and out and moderating the questions later on. It's great to have a chance to talk to you all and share this for the first time with you. So can I hand over now to Tina?
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Yeah, good morning from Suva, everyone. So I'll just introduce the partnership, and particularly looking at the three focus areas of the partnership. So which is basically based on the shared goal of supporting wider engagement and support for sustainable tourism in the Pacific. And this is basically through Pacific-led initiatives, and really want to emphasize on that, and really get the support that we need from our external partners, and we value that partnership as well. So we're looking at, you know, everything that we will be doing for recovery should be Pacific-led and supported and informed by the opportunities that we have, such as, you know, with this one with Travel Foundation, learning from their global experience, but also information and knowledge of the tourism industry. So together with SPTO and the Travel Foundation are committing to developing and delivering a very comprehensive program of support for the recovery, and to help us build that resilience and position the Pacific region as the global leader in sustainable tourism. I think we can all agree to the fact that we're probably the most sustainable region in the world, and we should be proud of that. And so in terms of the partnership, it will be focused on 3 key areas. The first one is stakeholder engagement and shared agenda. We saw in the Slido poll earlier that a lot of us are talking about inclusiveness and resilience. And I think this is very key. So stakeholder engagement and shared agenda, we're looking at including the development of new ways of doing things, new cooperation mechanisms for the sustainable development, management, and promotion of the tourism sector, not only across the region, across our 20 Pacific Island countries, but also within individual destinations themselves. So out of this, we will be working towards ensuring that we deliver joint communications activities that really inspire and engage stakeholders, promote destination good practice, and amplify examples of success to help position our region as a destination in the global conversation around sustainable tourism. Now, the second focus area of the partnership with the Travel Foundation is around destination development and management. And this includes the development and diversification of our products, as well as experiences. And the focus really is on improving the livelihoods of our communities and local suppliers. But also another area that we're looking at is to review and enhance or improve the frameworks to evaluate how we perform as destinations and really look at measuring our success. So we'll also look at optimization of tourism growth strategies in support of smarter promotional investment. I think that's very key when we're also looking at the development of appropriate management responses from our different countries. And the third and probably one of the key areas of the partnership is focused on capacity and workforce development. And really this looks at building new destination management skills and capacity with a lot of support for small, medium enterprises to really develop and diversify their products and experiences. And through the building of the capacity of not only our private sector, but also looking at government agencies, our policymakers, civil society organizations, and other key stakeholders that we all engage with in the tourism sector. So not just with the direct stakeholders, but those who are working indirectly to make tourism work for us. So those are the key areas of the partnership, and we look forward to your engagement, as well as your feedback in how we can support you through the 3 focus areas that I've highlighted. Thank you. And I'd like to invite Jeremy to take it on from here. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Tina. Good morning, everyone, and really happy to be here. And thank you very much to Chris, Tina, Ahmed, and the whole SPTO team. We're very delighted about this partnership. And as Graham said a few minutes ago, it really already feels like we're part of the team. We've hit the ground running, working together, designing this program that we're sharing here with you today, and have already started working on some activities, which I'm going to share with you in a moment. One of the reasons I'm most excited about this partnership, from the very first time that we spoke to each other, we talked a lot about sustainability and resilience and the need for, obviously for a strong and smart recovery period. But one of the things we really all agreed on from the very beginning, our philosophical alignment was on creating a tourism sector that puts communities first and ultimately engages communities in decision-making so that local people, local needs and local resources are considered and ultimately benefit from tourism. And this is something that's really important to us at the Travel Foundation and something that we have been designing our entire program of work around. So it was really nice to see in the Slido responses, that many people are feeling the same way about the need for, I guess in terms of concerns for the recovery period, that one of the things that we need to do going forward is to ensure that there is real dialogue between the sectors, with local communities at the table, and to ensure that what we do from here is as inclusive as possible. I know this is a challenge, and it has been everywhere. One of the things that we've designed this program with the idea underpinning that we would try to tackle this challenge once and for all, and create a resilient tourism sector that puts the actually allows the communities to lead and ensures that there is a net positive benefit left behind. So in terms of the foundational activities, we have, as I said, hit the ground running with some first steps in each of the 3 partnership areas. So just to share with you a little bit about what we've done. With regards to stakeholder engagement and shared agenda, well, the first thing that we're doing is actually this webinar. We intend throughout this partnership, we hope this will not be the last one. We intend to have conversation, to create dialogue and create opportunity for this partnership to be, reflective of and inclusive of the needs of SPTO and its members. And so we will continue to have these dialogues at a regional level, in destinations, with the goal of creating a real shared agenda for recovery and onward. We're also planning to launch a campaign, which will be called Always Pacific. That will be a regional campaign for you all to tap into. And I will share a little bit more about that campaign in just a moment, but it falls under this stakeholder engagement category. With regards to destination development and management, we've already agreed to deliver together some workshops which will support Pacific destinations with recovery planning. We have recently at the Travel Foundation developed an internationally tested framework for assessing and improving on recovery plans to ensure that they balance well the short-term needs of economic recovery with the long-term needs of sustainability and resilience. We developed this through a partnership with global media company City Nation Place, and we will be delivering some workshops that will help Pacific destinations apply this framework to their own recovery plans in order to understand, assess, and ultimately improve those recovery plans going forward. And we'll have some information very shortly about what those workshops will look like, when they'll take place, and how you can be involved. And with regards to capacity and workforce development, we have already put in a funding proposal with the U.S. Embassy, which we hope to find out about very, very soon. The focus is on SME capacity building and market linkages. We have a toolkit that already exists called Are You Ready for Business? The goal of this proposal will be to further develop this toolkit, apply it to the Pacific context, and train SMEs in the region with a particular focus on adapting and innovating tourism product to the evolving market demands, which are expected, already emerging sort of post-COVID, and will continue to evolve as we go forward. The goal is to ensure that local businesses across the Pacific region are best placed to capitalize on future opportunity and are making connections, new connections, as they diversify and adapt the Pacific product offer. I want to share now just a little bit about our ambitions. So some ideas that we'd like to move ahead with. We are proposing a number of concrete solutions to help meet the needs of stakeholders locally and to address the barriers to smart recovery. These are just some ideas. We have plenty more, and we invite you to help us shape these ideas further, share with us what it is that you feel is most needed, and we really welcome the opportunity for dialogue with you as we build out some of these ideas and implement them together. On the shared agenda piece, we are developing a series of interventions focused on creating that equitable dialogue and agreement of within destination ecosystems. We've actually designed a program with ATTA, which is the Adventure Travel Trade Association. It's called Destination Reset. And the goal of this program is to help destination stakeholders come together around a shared agenda for recovery. Again, understanding that there are necessarily tensions between short-term recovery and long-term need. We think it's critical that the business community, the government, destination community, and local people, local residents are all represented and have a voice in that discussion to agree on shared priorities for recovery and ultimately to develop together some short and medium-term recovery roadmaps. So we'll be looking to implement this Destination Reset program in some Pacific destinations. With regards to destination management, we have the ambition to develop some new tools and programs that will improve the management of knowledge and skills within destinations. For example, we have a methodology that we've already piloted to help destinations target and achieve the right balance of tourism. We know that growth is going to be necessary again, and there's nothing wrong with growth. I mean, growth as part of economic, sort of viability, resilience, and sustainability, growth is important, but the idea is to understand the implications of growth, better understand the hidden costs of servicing different markets and segments, and ultimately to make some more savvy decisions about who to promote to and what destination management responses will be needed to address the impacts of tourism. We also have a program in development for destination management organizations, which will help them develop the skills necessary to meet the evolving demands of the new normal and into the future. Lots of talk over the years about destinations pivoting to become marketing and management organizations. We think it's critical to create a foundation of capacity for destinations to be able to tackle these new challenges that they're facing. And then within capacity development, we'd like to continue to develop further programs that equip SMEs with the skills, the knowledge, and the financing to develop and adapt and ultimately diversify the Pacific product, understanding these evolving trade and consumer demands, with the goal also of helping the Pacific tourism sector to become even more inclusive and make sure that no one is left behind. I promised that I would share a little bit about the Always Pacific campaign, so that's what I'm going to do now. If we can change the slide, thank you. So we thought it would be nice as a part of our launch activities to come together with SPTO, Travel Foundation, and Pacific tourism stakeholders to launch a communications campaign together, which is called Always Pacific. So this will be a business and community engagement campaign for the Pacific region, designed to help communicate about recovery and the development of the tourism sector in the Pacific in a way that is right and for always. So the Always Pacific campaign is designed to inspire collaboration among the region, so across the tourism actors and stakeholders, to give an umbrella concept to the path forward for recovery, to mobilize many aspects of the recovery plan, and to make good on the promise of SPTO's outward-facing regional consumer and trade campaign for the Pacific, Ours is Yours. So the Always Pacific campaign is very linked to the 3 partnership areas that we've already shared with you. So there are 3 primary ways that we will, quote unquote, do always, although we'll be really interested to hear your reflections on what Always Pacific may mean to you and how this campaign can help communicate your plans for taking recovery forward in a sustainable and resilient way. So in terms of the link to our program of activities, we'll be focused on always offering products and experiences based on the uniqueness of our islands and communities, always striving to be better with new knowledge, standards, and training, and always involving our diverse communities in our shared future. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Tina, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the logistics of the Always Pacific campaign. Tina?
So thank you, Jeremy. I'll just hand it over to, just realized that I off my video. I'll hand it over to Ahmed first, who'll do the poll, and then, yeah, I'll continue on. Thank you very much.
Oh yes, we have a poll.
Hi all, sorry, thanks. We just wanted to run a quick poll to see where your interest is in terms of the partnership arrangement with SPTO and the Travel Foundation. This is going to be really quick, in 30 seconds. You should see the poll on your screen now. Please give us a response in terms of where you would like to see or what you find most interesting about the partnership with the Travel Foundation and SPTO. Okay, we've got some responses coming through. We'll give you another 20 seconds on that, just to share your feedback. The poll will enable us to actually gauge where we need to allocate resources to, but also gives us a good idea of what our stakeholders are thinking as well. Let's give another 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm just going to end the poll now and share the results with you. So if you can see the results on your screen, 57% looking at destination development and management in terms of the partnership, which is really good. But we also have a lot of emphasis on stakeholder engagement, as well as capacity and workforce development. So thank you everybody for that. I'll hand it back to Tina now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ahmed. So now we invite you all to participate in the campaign. So please share with us your always specific commitments and reflections. So how you do that, you tell us how you will commit to a long-term and resilient recovery for the Pacific through tourism. So again, we will feature a representative sample of these on our social media channels. And you may also have the chance to feature in a short film or video that we are creating and will be promoted online at events, and will also feature as part of an event that is coordinated by the UN Pacific Office, which is due to be launched in August. So how you do that, share your commitment now via Slido or in the chat box, if that's more convenient to you, or even email seeingale@spto.org if you don't want to be, if you don't want everybody else to see how you will commit to promoting always specific. So deadline is by the 15th of July. So that's next week on Wednesday. So please feel free, to tell us how you can commit to sharing, the always specific campaign. How will we be able to do it together? And with everybody participating, we'll have a fairer idea of, the direction that we need to focus the campaign on. And I think we're all in this together. We're finding our way through, and yeah, your engagement in the process is also very important. So my email again is seeingale, C-G-A-L-E, @spto.org. Even better, yeah, that's on the chat now. Thank you, Ahmed. So with that, I'm also delighted to announce that we are joined today by Miss Pacific Islands, Fono Ifafo McFarlane Seumano, who will support the campaign. So Fono, we invite you your short reflections on the campaign and what always specific means to you. Sorry. Yeah, over to you, Fono. Thank you.
Sorry, I know, I just, someone's just come in and said, you're muted. Anyways, I'll start again. My name is Fono Ifafo. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am the ambassador for the Pacific, so I hold the Miss Pacific Island and Miss Samoa titles, and it's highly likely that that will be extended through to next year. I'm a registered nurse by profession, so I was drawn into the deep end a bit. Since last year, I've been working, so it's been 9 months since working under the capacity of a tourism ambassador. So I'm learning more as we go, and I think this campaign, especially from what you guys have just finished discussing, has been such an eye-opener for myself. I support this campaign. I read a little bit of what Christina had said earlier, but it's been encouraging actually listening firsthand to what this partnership will look like. And I think, like you guys have mentioned, the best way for us to get the maximum results is if we approach this with a collaborative approach, and also, you know, it'll be a good opportunity for us here from the Pacific to learn more from what you guys have done in the wider spectrum, and also to just milk some of the knowledge, experience, tools, and wisdom that you guys have to offer. So again, Christina, thank you for letting me be part of this, and I do look forward to supporting your campaign. I will, you know, do the best that I can from my end to, you know, promote whatever messages you guys wish for, and to use this platform to, you know, bring awareness to the tourism sector, because like you said, it's been really badly affected by COVID, and I've seen that firsthand, especially working here in Samoa at, you know, being a nurse and a tourism ambassador. So yeah, thank you guys. Don't you say anything else? Over to you, Christina.
Oh. Stop.
Okay, just as Tina mentioned, we'd like to hear your feedback in terms of the campaign that we're running. If we can just switch quickly to Slido to provide your feedback on that. I'll put the question up. As Tina mentioned, what we're also trying to do is to collect this and to put it into a video as well. So what we're asking you to do is to also please, if possible, put down your initial so that we can attribute and also be in contact with you in terms of the quote that you put forward, as well as the country that you're from, in case some people have the same initials as well. So the question is on Slido at the moment. You can access that, and it basically reads, how will you commit to recovering for the long term, for now and for always? You can share your answers. At the moment, it'll appear anonymous, but so please put your initials for your name as the names that you use to register for the webinar, and we'll get back to you in terms of that. I'll leave the poll open so that you can, yes, JS, we can see your test. So you can put your commitment there. We'll leave the poll open and continue with the webinar as we go forward, and we'll revisit this possibly at the end of our question and answer session. Thank you. Graham, back to you. Graham, sorry, you're on mute.
Yes, sorry. Thank you, Amy. The perils of Zoom. Yeah, thank you. And just to sort of emphasize, I think, you know, the partnership is really around that shared agenda and inclusivity, and we don't necessarily see it as just a partnership between the Travel Foundation and the Pacific Tourism Organization. It is a partnership beyond that. We want and welcome your involvement, your perspectives, your ideas within it. Always Pacific is a good way to start that conversation, but we hope that you will you know, seize that opportunity and really engage and help us shape a program that is going to be needed and utilized towards this smart recovery for the Pacific. We're joined by a couple of representatives just to sort of start off and with some reflections on the program and to share their own experiences a little in relation to recovery. So we're joined firstly, if I can ask Adela Aru, who's the CEO of Vanuatu Tourism Office, to make herself known. That'll be fantastic.
Adela, you're on mute as well.
I know, it's this thing about mute. Anyways.
Hi, Adela. Hello again. So could you just firstly just introduce yourself so everyone knows sort of, you know, who you are and what you do?
Good morning, everyone. Pacific greetings to all. Thank you, Chris, for the opening, and thank you, Graham, Christina, Jeremy, and the others. My name is Adela Aru. I am the CEO of the Vanuatu Tourism Office. And it's a pleasure to join in the webinar this morning with everyone.
So just really to invite your reflections, Adela. From what you've heard today about the partnership, what you've learned sort of prior to this, what are your sort of initial thoughts? How does it align with your own priorities in Vanuatu?
Well, thank you, Graham. A very good question. Part of my responses would be at the perspective of Vanuatu tourism. Given that Vanuatu had undergone in the last 3 months 2 disasters, COVID-19 as well as Tropical Cyclone Harold, I believe that has also impacted Fiji and Tonga. In terms of what we had done initially as part of the 2 crises was a reach out to the industry in Santo, which is where Cyclone Harold had impacted quite largely, and part of that was we undertook a series of surveys just to understand the impact of both COVID and TC Harold. It was quite sad to know that between 70 to 90% of properties in Santo is another destination were physically damaged. But the good thing was that the key elements of partnership that is mentioned here once again in this webinar is that it is about engagement and collaborative partnership between both public and private stakeholders that we were able to work for the last 4 weeks in formulating our immediate crisis response and recovery plan. And we were just, we're calling it the Vanuatu Crisis Response and Recovery Plan. And the first immediate response is focused on 5 pillars, which is looking at health safeguards, the safety of our communities and people, looking at international demand, and then it's about product readiness, so business ready. So it's good that earlier on, Graham, you mentioned about market ready and understanding the different market linkages. And this is something that we're experiencing now, and I'm pretty sure majority of industry around the Pacific are also experiencing the same thing. How do you actually get ready when borders eventually opened up? The notion of getting community awareness to address the fear around safety of our people, it's paramount at this point in time. So we have noted that the focus is on destination planning and management. We want to get the businesses ready. We're not rushing to get the borders opened as yet, even though there are discussions about borders reopening, but it's about pressing the reset button for us, looking at partnership opportunities for public and private, but most importantly is the community awareness aspect in getting our communities to really understand that Vanuatu is not for tourism, but it's what type of tourism do we in Vanuatu would really want. And I believe that is the new wave that is coming across the whole Pacific, in our opinion and view, that we want to see sustainable practices being integrated into our planning and management practices. You highlighted capacity development opportunities for businesses, strengthening the market linkages, talking about issues around gender and our communities. So I guess this is just a snapshot of the phase that Vanuatu tourism is currently going. We're happy that we have a key task force that is managing a lot of these conversations. It's not easy, but definitely partnerships is one key way to share experience and learn from both sides of the coin as we move through this recovery phase.
Right. Yeah. Well, I hope you know, from what you've heard today, you'll see lots of opportunity to, you know, participate and benefit from the work that we're hoping to do, you know, regionally with SPTO.
Definitely, and I believe not only Vanuatu, but everyone is looking forward in that partnership and the awareness and the campaign that is going to be put out for Always Pacific.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to involvement in that too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you have some other things you wanted to share with us, some slides or something, or have you covered that on what you've...
I've already covered that just by giving a talk, so I'm pretty sure it's okay.
That's great. Okay, thank you. And I'd also like to invite some perspectives from the private sector as well. We're very lucky to be joined by Daniel Jason, who's the GM and owner of the Namosi Eco Retreat in Fiji. Daniel, are you there? There he is.
Hello, Bula to everyone, and big Bula to all the Pacific out there. I'm Daniel Jason from the islands of Vitilevu, the island of Fiji. Yeah, such a privilege, and thank you all for having me as well.
The privilege is ours, yeah, I think it would just really helpful if you, as a business, going through this at the moment, what are your hopes for recovery, and how do you think this partnership will support businesses like yours across the region? How do you hope it will?
Well, I think for us, for example, we're at, I think this will do really well for us, and then engaging with the community itself. It's very important. That's where we all started from the retreat. The main thing about what we do up there is to engage with the community as a whole, and to be sustainably active out there, and yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so things, obviously not great at the moment in terms of lack of visitors and so on. But you're hopeful for the future, and if the Pacific can follow this course, that it can rebuild stronger.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. So for us, for example, at Namosi, we're such a unique product. So what we do up there is like Bures, our guests come there to get unplugged away from electronics and everything. And to be honest, there's four steps that we normally advertise a lot, which is sustainability. First sustainability. So like it's just getting people back to nature and living a simple life. Living a life without electronics, and just to engage, and simply just have a talk with your family, and for example, before COVID, during COVID time, families were engaged with themselves. So everyone was stuck at home and everything like that, and families started to chat to each other. And that is what we started off 4 years ago, trying to get people there without phones and internet and everything, and just simply just sit as a family and have a chat. There was an example of that when there was a phone company group in Fiji that came up, and they were enjoying themselves for 2 nights there, and their boss turned around and said to me, Danny, this is the first time I ever seen my all the workers actually talking to each other, and not talking to each other by their phone. So that is something that we're trying to like, trying to engage and introduce, like, for people to grab this moment, the moment that we're trying to like do up there. And the other thing is like, agritourism. So we take them around the farm, and so they can look at what we have up there, and also, and also to for them to harvest their own food, see how it's cooked, and eat it as well. And there was an example of that as well when there was a family that came up, and the parents just want to show their kids. They come up to me and they said, "Danny, we want to show our kids, how you butcher the chicken, and pull the taro and harvest the food, and because kids nowadays they just see them in packets in shops and everything." So went along deep fishing, catching eels in the river, prawns, and harvesting food, and they actually like get them to engage and doing it themselves. So that is what we promote up there, and just doing that, the family actually connect together, and that's what we're trying to promote up there. It's more communities and families that come up there to engage in that, and also just living a very simple lifestyle up there, away from everything, noise, pollution, and everything. And
Great.
Yeah.
When can I come?
Oh, come now.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I mean, again, I think you sort of embody that kind of what we're talking about, sort of community-led and the sort of connectivity with nature, with other people, and so on. That really makes tourism special. Really forges a connection with a place, and these will be the types of products that will be increasingly in demand as well. I think as tourism starts to emerge, people will want to get off the beaten track and reconnect and so on. So yeah, great. Thank you ever so much for sharing your perspectives.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so I think we have some time now to get some reflections and questions from the audience as well. So I think we've had, just having a look at the chat now. So I had a question, I think it's probably a question for Tina and Jeremy, which is how is SPTO and Child Foundation going to work with the plethora of existing aid programs supporting particularly specific SMEs and community resilience efforts? Would you like to dive in on that one, Jeremy?
Sure, and I'll just start, and then Tina, chime in as you want. It's a great question, and when we talk about this idea of the shared agenda, I think it's actually really important. I didn't mention it, but one of the things that really must be a part of that shared agenda is actually the donor community, because one of the risks is that, and particularly in a moment where there are likely to be competing priorities, there's a crisis, a need to shift around budgets and strategies, et cetera, it's actually pretty crucial from my perspective that the donor community is part of that shared agenda, that it's not fragmented, it's not siloed, but actually there is some common thinking, common priorities, and common investment in the future. And so to that end, we actually had just last week, I think it was, maybe 2 weeks ago, a donor roundtable where we invited, SPTO invited several of the aid programs and donors working in the region to share with each other what their priorities are, and to hear a bit about SPTO's recovery priorities and the the framework of this partnership. And it was a really nice discussion, actually. I found that people were quite transparent. A lot of connections were made, a lot of discussion was had about this very topic. So I think in the end, it has to be like this. We have to try to engage and create a bit of a shared agenda, so that there are not, you know, a million different priorities and budgets flying around. Tina, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, thank you, Jeremy. Sorry, there's a bit of just wanted to confirm that we're quite happy to engage with our donor community in the Pacific. So just like 2 weeks ago, we had that roundtable and we were able to, you know, present some of the key findings from the surveys that we had done earlier, the impact assessment that was done by the government of New Zealand for 7 of our Pacific Island countries. I mean, I think what we would like to emphasize is that there is still opportunity for us to, you know, to talk about how we can influence the development partner community on how, you know, they can better support the needs of the industry. And in saying that, information is key, and would like to encourage everyone, even if you're an SME or a private sector member and you're not yet a member of SPTO, it's important that we continue the conversation and you talk to us and even talk to your tourism office. I think there's a real need for us to collaborate and you know, find our solutions together to the whole process. And so some of the exciting partnerships that are coming on board, I mean, we've noted from SPTO that there are some development partners who have, you know, have not had any engagement with the tourism sector previously, have, you know, shown interest, and that's very encouraging. So later on today, we'll be launching a new partnership with the United Nations Capital Development Fund, and they're supporting the delivery of online courses for the industry and delivered through APTC and funded by the government of Japan. That's, you know, just one example of a new partnership that we have recognized, and we will engage our telecommunication providers in the Pacific to help with the internet and the connectivity issues, because we're moving to more online now than face-to-face, you know, trainings that we had before COVID-19. ADB is also quite interested to support the development of probably, you know, a health and safety guideline for the region. We're trying to find, you know, feedback and input into how that will, you know, become a useful tool for all of our countries and the individual businesses. So if you have feedback on how we can better put that together for the region, we would very welcome your support and ideas to how we can, you know, better do that with our partners, and definitely working with WHO and the other UN agencies, all our development partner community, and how, you know, we can, you know, figure that out, because it's still very early stages at the moment. But we're also looking at, you know, what kind of standards are we looking at, and each of the different countries have their own ways or systems already in place. Some are still very new and they're trying to look at standards. But also, you know, I think a lot of our businesses or countries are thinking about certifications. So that's an interesting one that, you know, would really love for you to provide your feedback on. Maybe you at Travel Foundation, Graham and Jeremy, have some experience there that we can sort of like adapt and you know, into the context of the Pacific and help our private sector as well as our NTOs to promote that, you know, in terms of preparing ourselves and be ready for opening our borders. So there's a lot of questions that are unanswered at the moment, but we do recognize the need for us to share. And so if after the webinar today, please continue to reach out to SPTO and we can connect you to the different partners who are doing other things other than what we're discussing here, and what's going to be delivered under the partnership with Travel Foundation. Yeah, maybe, I'd be interested to see what are the key areas that our audience today need support in, and so probably we'll give them the opportunity to share their feedback and reflections. Thank you.
Thanks, Tina and Jeremy. I think everyone was really, really keen to hear a little bit more from Daniel, and just to ask, someone asks here, what's your sort of marketing strategy and challenges? I mean, I imagine there are a lot of challenges in marketing at the moment, but I suppose that's quite, a really good question for all small businesses, across the region, and how are they, how are they keeping lines of communication open with their trade and direct customers at this time? Would you like to take that one on behalf of small businesses?
Yeah. Well, for us in Namosi, I do our own marketing, and it's all on Facebook. Eh? And apart from that, people that the guest that normally comes there is just word of mouth to other people, and I think that was the best marketing ever for us. Like the guests that come to Namosi, they come back and share their stories to other people that are curious about coming up, and that is a good thing, because it attracts the kind of guests that are expecting those and are wanting those kind of experiences up there. Yeah. And I hope it carries on, and people keep on sharing good stories and everything, and good experiences for the benefit for everyone. That's it.
You have a pretty strong domestic market as well, do you? Visitors to Namosi? What's your sort of split between international and local visitors?
Say it again, sorry?
Sorry, you have quite a strong domestic market for your...
Yeah, very about 80% local and 20% foreign, overseas market. So, so my main was set up there is like to promote a lot of our culture and tradition, and and pass it on through other people that are wanting to experience all that.
Mm-hmm. And this is a great example of of resilience, right? A business that's not entirely dependent on on people jumping on planes and coming to visit, and is actually providing a valuable community service as well, essentially to local residents, and keeping those traditions alive. So great, thank you. I don't think we've got any more questions yet in the chat. I don't know if anyone's got anything burning that they're wishing to cover today. Whether we could go to anyone in particular. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Graham.
Yeah.
We have Lauren Marlowe here. He's a creative consultant. He's working with SPTO in the past. He just wanted to ask a question.
Hi, hello everybody. It was more of a suggestion than a question. But I was thinking, we have in existence now these internationally recognized icons for amenities within tourism operations, which state things like restaurant, air conditioning, fans, swimming pools, etc. I was wondering if it might not be worth developing for the South Pacific region a set of green icons so that people booking online can engage directly with the resorts that they want to. For example, you might have an icon for water recapture, community cultural engagement, farm-to-table programs, and this would enable renewable energy would be another one. Trash mitigation could possibly be another one, and this would enable people booking online to directly engage with the resorts with the most green agenda icons. It might also be a way for the larger resorts, because in Fiji, obviously, we have a huge range of different types of resorts. We've got multi-100 room, multinational, name resorts, and then we go all the way down to ecotourism such as Danny's. And I'm thinking if we could develop something like a universally, regionally recognized set of icons that can go next to their advertising online or even through other online platforms. So it just enables people to engage directly. And I've got a feeling that post-COVID, a lot of traveling people are going to be looking at engaging more sustainably and doing, just making better choices about the destinations they travel to and how they engage in the countries that they're in. And this would also enable, obviously, as if this were to roll out, it would soon become apparent that the properties with the most green agenda icons are getting a slice of share of the market. So that might prove as an encouragement to some of the more reticent properties to engage in the green agenda. But it would also allow people booking online to get their money directly into the community in the form of handicrafts and things like this. There'd be more farm-to-table initiatives possibly. So that might be a way to see some of the money flow directly down into the communities in a more sustainable way. But also within the creative industries, there needs to be maybe, because a lot of people, when they buy product in the Pacific, they can't get it back home to Australia or New Zealand because of quarantine regarding native creative materials. So maybe better information in that regard, so it's very clear to people what they can buy directly in the community and the protocols involved in getting it back to the country that they're going home to. I think we're missing quite a bit of the revenue streams from the creative industries, in the sense that a lot of people are just buying imported plastic trinkets, with Bulla Fiji written on it, because they don't want to go through the hassle of getting, native products confiscated at the airport when they return home. So that would be my suggestion, a set of green agenda icons for the region, across all the different types of tourism operators, and also better information for tourists regarding purchasing of product, creative product in country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I think some good reflections there. I think one of the things that we're very conscious of is how to build the capacity and skills of tourism businesses and the tourism supply chain. But also then to the connectivity of that to the market. So whether they're direct to consumers or to businesses that might be looking for new products and services to purchase and promote. So yeah, thank you very much for that. I guess we're getting to a little bit towards the end now. Thank you for the questions that have come in. I guess we'll probably just ask if anyone had any, particularly Jeremy and Tina, Ahmed, had any kind of final reflections they'd like to make. I think it's been a really great opportunity for us to share with you and to start hearing back some of your perspectives, and particularly looking forward to going through the Slido contributions after this. So yeah, can I just invite Jeremy maybe and Tina, just if there's anything finally they'd like to say to close off today's meeting?
Sure, yeah, thank you. Not much to say really that hasn't already been said, other than just to reiterate the the desire for dialogue and discussion with you all. As Graham alluded earlier, this is not just a partnership between SPTO and the Travel Foundation where we intend to go off and do things together without without really engaging stakeholders to ensure that this is a regional partnership that is reflective of your needs and desires. I think this this recovery period, it's been very interesting. I mean, without, I mean, of course, to first acknowledge how challenging and difficult it is. Jobs, livelihoods, lives have been lost, and this is really hard. This is not easy, but there is opportunity here within this particular moment, and it's important that we really take this time to think, to start to plan for how to understand what future growth looks like, how we deal with it, and how I feel really committed to ensuring that growth in the future actually delivers for communities and for local people. And this is the moment that we have to where things are sort of back at square one, so to speak, where we work together and really think how can we ensure that the tourism sector really delivers. So I feel really committed to that, and I think the only way we can do that is if the communities and the destinations are leading this conversation, not just not just there on the sideline. So I'm looking forward to further dialogue. I should say I have spent time in the region as well. My honeymoon was in Fiji, and I worked in Samoa as the lead assessor for the Global Sustainable Tourism Council Destination Criteria Early Adopter Program. So I have some connection and love for the region. I'm looking forward, as soon as I'm allowed, to come back to do so again and to meet many of you. And yeah, looking forward to where we go from here. Seems there's been some comments in the chat that are really interesting. We will connect with you all and continue this dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Tina, any final thoughts from you?
Yep. Just from our side, yeah, just re-emphasizing the message of us working together, private sector, government, our civil society organizations and what they do. Most of them work in the environmental space and the, social development space. And I can tell you from my experience working with SPTO that we don't have an NGO that specifically focuses on tourism in the Pacific, but we do recognize the important role that our civil society groups can, play in terms of how we move tourism forward post-COVID-19. And so we look forward to working with them, not only on the environmental sustainability front, but also in improving economic livelihoods through tourism for our communities. And, just when we're thinking that, everything seems so difficult for us moving forward, we have to be, happy and content with the situation that we are in. I think this is a golden opportunity for all of us to reflect on what type of tourism we really want in the Pacific and in our countries and in our small villages and communities. As Danny mentioned earlier, I think, I listened to him yesterday when he was telling us his story about how when in his younger days, he was not so proud to be, associated with his, heritage of Namosi. And then how he has, grown to see and benefit from actually, promoting Namosi as his heritage. So that's really powerful, and it's something that also resonates with most of us in the Pacific and, wherever we come from. So, those very simple things can really help us in moving tourism forward. And we do have and recognize our partners from all over the world who are here today. those who are working with our development partners, you can hear today, some of the messages that are coming out of the discussion and how everyone's looking for resilience. And, there's programs that you are working on that we engage all our countries and even a perspective from different stakeholders will, be very useful in shaping the support that will be provided to the Pacific. But we are also open to any feedback and more information. And let's just take one step at a time. So don't panic. We'll be fine at the end, yeah. And yeah, hopefully we'll see Jeremy and Graham in the Pacific very soon.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, Graham, just one comment. I'm seeing a question from Mr. Manufolau from Kiribati about market access and the Pacific's new tourism market. And just to respond to that one quickly, because I think it's really important. To me, we talk a lot about sustainability, resilience. We use all these words, right? But in the end, tourism is about designing, developing, and managing tourism products and experiences, and ultimately that is the goal. But the goal is to do that in a way that's beneficial, again benefits communities, that creates net positive impact, etc. So I think it's critical to say that we must focus on evolving the market and really understanding what are the trends. I mean, this is us as an organization, the Child Foundation, and many of our partners. This is something we're pretty tapped into globally and regionally, which is to say that we think it's critical that we understand how the market is evolving, and that communities have the support that they need to diversify and adapt. But you can't just do that, like clap your hands and suddenly you are able to deliver on new market trends and needs. So I think we have to be very thoughtful and very strategic about how to create this market access and deliver a quality experience that the Pacific region and its very different communities can be very proud of, and contextualize that locally. So just to say that I think this is at the heart of what we're doing. It's not just about tinkering around the edges with regards to sustainability. To me, product and experience delivery must be really at the core, and responding to the market so that the market also understands how the Pacific is evolving and serious about delivering local, authentic, resource efficient, and community driven products.
Great, thank you, and thanks everyone for joining. Ahmed, you're MC, so I guess I should just hand over to you for any next steps or anything you want to communicate with everyone.
Thanks, Graham. Just before we end, I'd just like to get everybody back to look at the results of the last question on Slido. Just a few quick points that really came out strongly, and a few have really highlighted this. In terms of committing to recovering for the long term, looking at our nature, natural systems, and biodiversity as being critical for tourism. This is something that was strongly brought out by IUCN. A few have also pointed out the need to continue the dialogue and share information as the best way forward to ensuring that we're all on the same page in terms of sustainability and what we would like to do, as well as using the new tools that are coming through in terms of digital marketing and the online tools, ensuring that we use that, especially in the current climate of COVID-19 and not being able to travel. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll end that poll. We'd just like to thank the Travel Foundation, as well as our partners and Miss Pacific from Samoa for joining us, as well as to all the participants for taking the time out to join the webinar, which we really appreciate. Hopefully you've learned a few things as we have through the interactions. The next steps from here is we'll be posting a few things onto our Facebook page, so please feel free to follow that. If you have any questions or queries or comments on this, please feel free to email us. As Tina said, her emails are also there. For the questions that we have not been able to respond to during this webinar, we will definitely respond to your questions on email through those that you have targeted the questions to, and hopefully this will happen in the next week or two. If you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to email us. Without much further ado, thank you very much. You all have a good afternoon and evening wherever you are, and we hope to see you in our next webinar. Thank you very much.
Bye.